Well, hello there, guys. I've got baby chicks. So I ordered 35 birds from Murray McMurray Hatchery several months ago, I think in January. And yesterday they arrived. They were all excellent and vibrant and healthy, except for one who is looking a little sickly right now. Let me grab him. This little one. Ooh, I know it's a little cold outside and I have the garage open so you guys can see me. He's just been a little lethargic and, oh, it's okay, are you so cold? So I mixed up together a little recipe that I found online, and I kind of modified it because I didn't have green tea, but it's steeped green tea, 1 egg yolk, and either sugar or honey, and I used honey. And I just mixed that up, let it cool off a bit to a good temperature, and then syringe fed him. He seemed to have perked up after that, he or she. So I hope he makes it. Baby chick loss is not uncommon, unfortunately. In fact, there are a lot of sites that tell you expect to lose up to 10% when you first get them. Of course, we recognize that issue and it sucks when it happens. It's a part of life. It's a part of owning a farm. It's a part of raising your own birds. But I will do everything I can to make sure this little guy makes it through. He's just colder than the rest of them. He's shivering more. He's actually smaller in body type than the other birds. But he seemed to have perked up a little after I gave him his first syringe. So I'll just be feeding him every couple hours and see if that helps. Hi, little dude. So what I plan to do is keep these guys in the brooder for a couple weeks, at least until they're feathered out enough that I can put them outside on pasture. It has really been warming up here, but for the last few days we've had a little bit of a cold front and a lot of wind. So I've mostly kept this garage door closed and I just leave the garage light on. But they've been running around and eating their food. Right now, because I'm out here, my voice is scaring them a little bit. They're still skittish. But they've been running around. I don't think it's that cold in here. They don't seem to have a problem being away from the heat lamps. So hopefully they all make it through, and I'm very excited. They're so cute. They're so fluffy. And then, as if I couldn't get enough chicks, yesterday I started, I want to say maybe 18, 19, 20 eggs in an incubator with my neighbor Paige. So she's got them at her house. She bought the incubator. I provided the eggs, because she wants some laying hens. She doesn't currently have any. So we're gonna get that started, and just there's gonna be chicks everywhere. Oh, just one more look at these cuties. No, come back. Hey, little guys. I love how they like sprint from one spot to like wherever they want to get to. It's a dead sprint. So I'm in the front now, and I figured I'd give you guys a little update on my seedlings, which are hardening off. And almost all of the squash that I planted in the soil blocks has come up, which is great. But with this cold front, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to plant them out when I should be, which is a little worrying. But they look fantastic. A little tall. I don't know why. They've been under the lights. I'm not sure this is legginess or just them growing fairly quickly. But they all look excellent. The soil blocks are still intact, even though I've been bottom watering, so that's promising. I think this is going to be a really good future soil block recipe, the one that I had in my last video, which I will link. And here are my other beautiful ones, which are doing great. And all of my way too many plants that I have. Now I've been hardening these guys off for more than a week now. Technically, they would be ready to go in the garden if the garden was ready for them, which it is not. It's still too cold. I'm still expecting a freeze within the next week. But hopefully, I think probably the beginning or middle of next week, I'm going to plant out a few test crops in the garden just to see if they live. Obviously, if they live, that's perfect. Sorry if this wind is too much, guys. But I figure I have so many seedlings, I might as well just throw them out and see when my last frost is and just make them the sacrificial lambs. It was even cold enough the other day when I was hardening these guys off to like wind burn with cold some of these leaves. So a lot of these tomatoes look pretty crunched up. They all made it through, and honestly it wasn't even freezing. I think the temperature said it was maybe in the high 30s, but the breeze must have just been right on that cusp and they all got damaged. But none of them died, they all bounced back. The basil looks the worst. But again, it's still living, still putting out new growth. So everything has been pretty kosher here. We're coming down to crunch time on the garden. I have not yet amended all of my garden beds. But it takes quite a while because I have to sift out all my compost because it didn't break down fully over the winter like I had expected it to. So every time I need to add several inches of compost to this bed, it takes me an hour or two to sift out multiple wheelbarrows and then take them over to the beds. But I'm getting it done. It'll all be done, not only because it has to be and things just have to get done, but because I love it. So it's not really work at the end of the day. The sky looks really pretty today. It'd be a lot prettier if it wasn't windy. So my onions have not been growing quite as quickly as I thought they would. And I do hope that they keep growing throughout the summer and don't take to the heat too poorly. Because I have a potential for a lot of onions here. I just don't know how damaged they got during transplant. And that would be extremely disappointing if I just have an entire 8x4 bed of green onions. My garlic is doing fantastic. This is the quickest growing crop I currently have in my garden. I don't see any scapes coming up yet, which is what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the garlic scapes from the hardneck garlic to come up. But one thing I'm a little worried about is my potatoes. They have not come up yet. Now, I'm not worried in the sense that I don't think they're not going to come up. But last year I had planted them about 2 weeks earlier than I planted them this year, just because the place that I got them from, they didn't ship out till pretty late. So c'est la vie, there's nothing I can do about that. I do have the shade cloth for all of this in-ground garden, which is far better than I had last year, which was nothing. So I think that even if they come up later and go through the heat of the summer, the shade cloth will help mitigate that and I might still get a really good harvest. I was just hoping they would be up by now. They were, I think, like at least 2 or 3 inches tall by this time last year, and they still struggled in the heat. So I did dig down yesterday though to make sure they were sprouting, and I found one potato that was. Because you just never know, and I just went digging. I just saw something, guys. Is that? No, that is not a potato leaf. What is that? It's not a weed, I don't think. Huh. You know what? It might be a sunflower. That looks like a sunflower sprout. I had Mexican no. I think it was a wild, yeah, I had a wild sunflower. It's a desert native sunflower. It's actually really neat. You can see it on the roadsides here in New Mexico, like generally driving towards the Gila wilderness. So where it gets a little bit more rain than I'm at, because they're not native to here, the southwest. But they did excellent. They're drought tolerant, very hardy, and they throw out a ton of blooms. They're a multiflora kind of sunflower. So I hope that reseeded itself, because if it did, I'm absolutely going to save seeds from that. Anything that survives and reseeds itself in my garden, I try my hardest to keep it going and then save seeds from it at the end, because that just shows that it's a hardier plant. It can survive my environment without any input from myself. I really think that's a sunflower. I don't know, I guess a bird could have dropped a melon or a pumpkin seed or something. I just want my potatoes to come up. And I meant to tell you guys, 2 parts of my experiment lived. So in the in-ground beds, I still have my rutabaga. It looks terrible, but it's alive. And my yarrow, of course, is just kicking butt. And then over here in the in-ground garden, again, the rutabaga lived, and the yarrow also lived. There's a little remnant of a cabbage here, but I don't have much hope in him, so he can just hang out. And then, of course, all those 3 that I planted over there are gone, kaput. And I'm really wanting for these to hurry up and go to seed before I have to rip them out for the garden this year, because I'm gonna put peppers in this bed, so these have got to come out first. And they're not quite ready. I've seen tons of bees on these flowers, which is amazing. I've already got pollinators in the area. But this is how you harvest the seeds from brassicas. So they will flower with these lovely fragrant yellow blooms. And then if these flowers are pollinated, they will put out these little, you see these, this turns into a pod if the flower is pollinated, and then it fills up with seeds, almost like a bean. You can also see it pretty well over here on this bok choy. This little guy is gonna turn into a seed pod. These guys, seed pods. And then once they're dried, you just break them off and you have millions upon millions of tiny little brassica seeds. But they're not there yet. And I'm really afraid that I'm gonna have to rip these plants out before they actually set their seeds completely. Which is fine, it's not the end of the world. I honestly might be able to keep this bok choy here because it's hanging over the edge of the bed and it's not really taking up a whole bunch of space. But these guys, they're right in the middle of the bed and they gotta go. As soon as I decide to transplant out my peppers, they're out of here. So that's unfortunate, but oh well. They were very pretty. They brought pollinators to my garden. So now the bees know where I live and they will be back. And look what I found the other day, guys. Yay! My gala apple tree is finally setting some blooms. I believe this pink lady over here is also setting blooms. It's just in a lot worse condition than my gala is. This guy had it really bad last year and I thought he wasn't going to come back at all. But he did, so that's good. Oh, and look at this. This is the one of 3 bare root trees I planted with you guys in a previous video. And this is the Einsheimer apple and it is starting to set buds too. How exciting, guys. I'm doing something right. I don't know about these Pakistani mulberries though. They're coming up. They're not green yet though. This wind is just out of control. Oh! Spring is so difficult here with all this wind. It takes its worst toll on the transplants when I set them out to get hardened off. Man, I think the wind does way more damage to them than the sun ever does. So this is what I've been up to for the past 24 hours. They are so adorable, so happy and healthy. Besides that one that I showed you guys, and I'm going to try my hardest to make sure he makes it through. There's only so much I can do. Like I said, it is not uncommon to lose chicks. It honestly should be expected. In fact, most hatcheries will mail you an extra chick with your order for that reason, because there's expected loss. They are hatched and they're immediately put in a box and shipped however far away you live, and it's just really hard on them, and they're very fragile. But it's never a good thing, and just because you expect it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to keep them alive. But I'm gonna head out. Just a quick little vlog update on the farm for you guys. I have been so busy trying to get so many things done, but hopefully in a couple days I will plant out a couple test crops with you guys, just like I did last year. I've talked about it before, how I planted out a couple tomatoes because I thought it was gonna be the last frost, but maybe not, and they ended up dying. So I had my answer. I'm gonna do the same this year. I could really do it with a ton because I just have so many extra plants, which is good. I just can't stop staring at them. Like, you think watching chickens is fun, watching chicks is even cooler. Well, I will see you guys soon. Hopefully we will be in the garden then. Thanks.